welcome to Recurring Nightmares bonus episode. We're not even going to number this.
Okay.
I am Jeff, joined as always by Chris.
That's me.
And what we're going to do today is something I always really enjoy doing and always really enjoy listening to from other podcasts, which is top 10 movies of the year. We're each going to give our lists. I don't know why, like, I guess it's just the show is such a tight ship that, like, I think we did this once, but we did not do it as a separate episode. I know that.
Yeah, it was probably just our, like, where we normally talk about the movies we watched.
But I was thinking it's fun to do. It's fun to look back on the year. It's an episode that I think people like to listen to. So I was like, let's just break it out as a little bonus to start the year. And then we'll get back to our scheduled programming of what we got next time: Warlock and the Prophecy.
Yep.
But yeah,
that'll be next week. We'll be quick.
Yeah, I'll get to them. I swear. Have you watched either of them yet?
No.
You saw them back in the day?
I have. I've seen both before. But.
I know. I watched the trailers, and I'm like, I know I saw Warlock. At least there was more than one Warlock, right?
Multiple ones, I believe.
And the
one
Christopher
Prophecy.
Walken, the Prophecy. I think we discussed this a little bit. Like, I watched the trailer, and I'm like, I have not seen this. Maybe I have. I don't know. But the one I always think of is the alien one with him. It's like called Communion. Anyways, we're gonna take a look back on 2024, and which I think is honestly a really great movie year. Probably the best one since 2019 for me. But first, before we get into our lists, were there any TV shows you wanted to shout out from the year?
Sure. I didn't watch a ton of new TV, but two things did kind of stick with me, even though I haven't finished either of them. And one, the reason for one is that it's not over yet. It's still kind of running. The first season of it, but the first one, talk about Shogun.
Okay.
I really liked what I watched of that. I think I watched like 6 of the episodes. There's like 8. It's like,
you
I don't
didn't
know.
Finish it.
Yeah, I haven't finished it. But everything I watched up until like the big earthquake, or maybe like right after the big earthquake, I was really like a fan of. And for some reason, I just did not finish up those episodes. I will probably at some point. Because it's mostly in Japanese. It's not a kind of a show you can just like pop on and kind of watch. Like, you have to watch it, like, if you're going to catch the dialogue. So I guess that's something I've been doing recently, is like putting shit on and kind of like watching it, but like, playing Dragon Quest or something on my Steam Deck while I'm doing it. So like kind of focusing on two things. You can't do that with Shogun, so I just haven't gotten back to it yet. But I've really liked what I watched of that, which was most of it.
I did finish it, and unlike you and everyone else, I just
didn't work for you.
I thought it was like decent, but I didn't find the ending to be very good, and like I just like the movie, the show was like winning awards, and everyone loved it, and I was just like, I don't know, it was okay. Like, I don't think I'll watch season 2, honestly.
Okay, I mean, that's
poo-poo your first shot out there, but it was one I did see as well.
And the other one is it's Skeleton Crew, which is the new Star Wars TV show. It's not over yet.
Okay.
I think they just hit episode 7. I don't know if it's 10 or 12. But they've just, episode 7 just released today, I think. And so I've caught up on all that, and I absolutely love it. It's joyous. Like, it's very Goonies. There's like a very Goonies feel to it. It's like a group of kids that are, out on an adventure. Like, weird shit happens. What was that?
I've not watched it, but I heard it's in a place that like kind of resembles Earth.
So
is that wrong?
Starts and like, it starts off and like you're like, kids are like, I mean, it has like Star Wars technology, like kids are riding like speeder bikes to school and shit, but it takes place on like what looks like a suburb on
that's
like
weird.
Earth. And there's a reason for that. So like, if you don't get past the first episode, and
You
there
might
are
just be like,
people
that
that
was,
yeah, that's weird, right? Like, and like I don't really like the kids. The adventure really doesn't kick in until episode 2, and that I think is where it kind of like kicks off and starts more of the Star Wars and Goonies aspect of it. I found it really fun. Some people are like, I don't understand, like, why are kids playing with like Jedi toys and reading books about Jedi? Like, wouldn't they be like things that people don't know? But there's a very specific story reason that like stuff like that is happening in this. And it's fascinating because it just completely blocks this out from the rest of Star Wars. It's just an adventure happening in the Star Wars universe. And a very specific planet that has kind of been shielded from everything that has happened ever in Star Wars. It's really, really cool. I think the kids are fun. Is it Jude Law? I think Jude Law is the yeah, he's the main like adult in it. And he's been fun. He plays like this pirate guy, and he's been a blast. It's really good, top tier Star Wars.
I'll see if you hold to that when you finish it. We'll talk about it in a future episode.
Yeah.
Is it nothing else you wanted to mention?
No, because
Okay.
nothing else. Like, I mean, I think we talked. Like, I watched like that. I can't even think of the name of it right now. Like the weird doctor on a boat show. Like, but that's not like those are just
Oh yeah,
weekly bullshit that I'm like put on when I'm at work as noise.
All right.
What do you got?
It wasn't like a million shows this year, but there were like 5 I really loved. So I'll just list them off for you.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Matter,
Yeah,
Baby
one I
Reindeer.
haven't got to
Go ahead.
yet. Yeah.
What-
Dark Matter you talked about earlier this year, and like I read the book. Great
You, you,
story. So I do
you
want to
will
get to it.
love Dark Matter. You will love it. Like it is. I mean, you know where it goes, so
Yeah.
it's not going to be like a total surprise to you like it was to me. But man, is it fun! Like when it gets going, oh my god, is it fun! Baby Reindeer,
Mhm.
Penguin, Presumed Innocent, the Jake Gyllenhaal remake of that movie, and Ripley, the remake of that movie,
Okay.
both turned into like season long series. All of the above, I'd say, is good to great. Like Ripley is great, Baby Reindeer is really great. Although I will, I think when I talked about Baby Reindeer first time, I like didn't want to touch on where it goes.
Yeah.
We do spoilers here, so if there's anything, sorry, but this is on this episode, especially like we're able to say why we liked something. So I hope you saw the 2024 movies. Otherwise, if we bring up something and we start talking about it, skip forward. And Chris, if I'm about to say something spoilery and you don't want to know it because you plan on watching it or for whatever reason, just let me know.
Will do.
But Baby Reindeer is like the show about, it's kind of like this crazy stalker girl starts following this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is actually about is male rape. So I can see why that could be a turnoff subject, but it's something that like doesn't get touched on at all in anything I've ever seen. And it's not like she rapes him or something. It's like he allows her to stalk him because he had been raped prior, and like so he's like fucked up in the head from that. Anyways, it's it's dark and funny, but yeah, I just some of the subject matter I think it might be a turnoff for people, but for me that was what made it really stand out. It was this guy telling this personal story of something that happened to him, and to like admit that things like that happen to you, probably not easy.
Yeah.
Ripley also is like phenomenal. It looks better than any movie I've seen this year. The rest are just pretty fun. Like Presumed Innocent is fun. Anyways, those are my TV shows.
Okay.
Let's see. Before we get to our list, we should probably talk around the edge of our lists a little bit.
Okay.
So this is a fun category that I love to do that I'm stealing from Filmcast, but they do this like movie that you didn't get, a movie that they didn't get. Basically, they didn't get is like, the critics panned it, but you really enjoyed it. So what was there any movies you watched this last year that was supposed to be great and you just didn't get it?
Oh yeah, I have one. I bet it's on your list too.
Okay.
Your actual list for best of the year.
Okay.
In a Violent Nature.
It so closely made my list. I wanted to put it on so bad, and it was in every version of my list until nearly the final version, because I'm just like I wanted to shout it out, but like there were just so many good movies last year.
Yeah, it was, and I understand why you like it, and I would think that would be why I would like it, and it did not work for me, and like critics loved it.
I know, I can't believe that.
I think the fan, the viewer response was definitely more mixed, I think.
But there's definitely people like me that really dug it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just think I'm so thirsty for Jason movie, and it's just kind of like art house Jason movie. I'm like, good enough.
Yeah, that it just did not work for me. There is an awesome kill in it. It will there's a
few.
Absolutely phenomenal. There's actually a few kills. There's one I think you know which one. That I'm probably
the yoga girl.
Yes, yeah. It's like super gross, hysterical looking too.
Yeah,
but phenomenally kind of look to it. But yeah, just didn't work for me. So just fine. Not everything has to.
I can't wait for In a Violent Nature to bring it on. I don't know if that's been announced. I just give me more. I forgot his name.
Did pretty well. So
I thought his name was like Johnny or something. Give me more Johnny.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna give me Jason back, I'll take this.
Awesome idea for it. Like I like how it's like how it kind of kicks off is like you see like the necklace gets stolen. And that revives him, and that's what he's talking for. And like it's just a neat concept that just something so simple and dumb is what triggers these supernatural serial killers.
It's like the beginning of Jason, Friday 6. It's like something has to revive. Well, I guess all the later ones somehow he gets revived or whatever. But then you're following him, and the first 10 minutes is just phenomenal when he kind of like creeps up on this house and goes in and comes out and chases the guy out. I don't know. It's I really dug it. I understand the frustrations with it for sure, but again, I'm such a Friday fan that it's like close enough. Did you have any others that like people really loved but you hated?
That I hated,
or you just didn't see? It just didn't work for you.
I mean, Dune Part 2. I didn't hate it. But like it just
did. That's on my list. I have 2 movies. That's one of them.
It's like I thought it was fine. Like it just didn't click for me. Like
Dune does nothing for me. Like I tried. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I mean I think it's a really cool visual look to it. I think all the technology is really neat, but man, it is so long-winded and boring.
Yeah,
it's aggressively boring. So.
I can't believe too we have a podcast here with 2 dudes who did not like Dune 2. Like that is like on a top, like a lot of critics list. It's near the top, or if not the top. It doesn't work for me. I find it boring. Yeah, I have no connection to Dune prior, and I gave it a chance and didn't like it.
I think that's probably it. For ones that didn't work for me.
I had Dune Part 2, and I also had, and this pains me to say this, but I saw the TV Glow.
Okay.
Got so much notice from people, and the trans community, feels like it's like a great movie that finally like addresses something that they've been through. And I understood that going in. I understood the metaphor. I understand what they were going for with the movie, but it just, to me, I found a lot to admire, and I saw the TV Glow, but it goes nowhere, and I mean nowhere. Like I got to the end of that, I'm like, almost nothing happened, and what I just did not get what was so great about it, even knowing going in what it was going for and whatnot. It just did not work for me. And I hate to again, so this is a movie that you'll find at the top of some critics lists, and I'd say most critics lists it's in their top 10. This wouldn't make my top 20.
Okay.
Did you have any movies that you felt other people didn't get that like were kind of shat on, and you saw them and you're like, I don't know, I liked it or I loved it?
Yeah. Love is a strong word, but yeah, there's a small handful here, but one that I actually like going into this movie. I was like, this is gonna be a train wreck, which was kind of why I went to go see it. But I left the theater with my family, and we were like, yeah, it was fun. Like, and that was the Rock and Chris Evans in Red One. It's not great, but like for a holiday movie that like you're just going and wanting to have like a good time, it's enjoyable enough. Like there's some funny bits in it. It's fun. Like it's not great, but like people were like, this is the worst Christmas movie ever. I'm like, I have seen so many worse Christmas movies.
I have a feeling I would be in that camp, not your camp, the other camp.
Yeah, that's like to me, it's like it works as
fine.
What I needed it for. Like, and two others that kind of are that, and I don't think they're good movies. Like, I think I ended up giving them like 2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. But Borderlands,
you're like, yeah, like, Jeff Kanata said the same thing. He's like, it's not terrible.
Yeah, it's like people are like, this is the worst thing ever. It's like I'm like, you don't watch enough movies if you think this is the worst thing ever. And I don't know if Kanata would agree with this one, but Madame Web wasn't as terrible as like some people were making that one out to be either. Like it's not good. And I think here's what I think. If you strip all the Spider-Man bullshit out of Madame Web, which is not that much, it's a much better film. And if you could just turn it just a little bit, it becomes this like kind of cool, like serial killer stalking, but like one of them can have premonitions and like know where he's coming to so they can avoid it. Like there's a really cool concept to it. And I think like, the acting in it is fine. Sydney Sweeney is like a 16-year-old is a little absurd at this point, but whatever. Sydney Sweeney's in it. Like she's good looking. I didn't hate it. I was like, yeah, it's not good, but
I am shocked by this.
I did not hate it. It's poor Borderlands for me, but
I've heard it's worse, like the worst of the Sony Spidey spin-offs.
Like, to be fair, I haven't seen Craven.
Yeah, I heard that's bad, but it's just like very standard, like nothing.
Yeah. We didn't do this last year, but I think Morbius would be on my list for last year.
All right, so I heard Morbius is way better than Madame Web, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like comic books movies enough to explore this fucking topic.
They're not good, but I also think that the people going, these are the worst fucking things ever, are insane. Like I was entertained enough watching them.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to find out myself.
I mean, like, I wouldn't recommend it to you. I would not recommend you go watch Madame Web or Morbius because I think you would you want to slit your wrist watching good comic book movies. Like
you're average. I mean, if it's really good, there's
average.
I guess if it's Batman, I love it, but otherwise.
Yeah, but like any of the Marvel shit, like you're generally going to be most of them aren't great
because I think they suck. Like it's like the new Superman that's coming out. I'm interested to see that. Okay, so it's not that I'm necessarily 1,000,000% like just because you're a comic book movie. That's it. I think the Marvel brand sucks, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't recommend you go see these like knockoff Sony Marvel movies though.
No. I saw Venom. It was stupid.
And that's considered the good one. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm good.
What do you got on yours?
So I have one that I thought people so underrated that I saw last night. this movie was shat on, and it so fit this category that it changed my top 10 list.
Okay.
So I'll save that from the top 10 list. But I did have another one, and that is the Kevin Costner Western that came out this summer that was supposed to be a two-parter.
Horizon?
Yeah, I'm sure you saw it. Yeah, I'm sure you saw the trailer.
But I did see the trailer, yeah.
Yeah. I see the trailer, I get all pumped for this because I'm like, this looks awesome. Like, it's a stacked cast. It looks cool. Like, I'm like, let's go. They show it at some festival, and every review out of the festival was about how fucking terrible the movie was. It kind of like stripped me of wanting to see it, and it came out and it bombed, and then it's also like a 3-hour movie. So I was like, you know what? I'll watch it when it comes to HBO.
Uh-huh.
In the meantime, I'm watching a lot of my friends on Twitter are going to the theater to see this movie, and they like it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? It comes to HBO, and I think I don't know if I talked to you about it or not. It's kind of a mess, especially for like the first hour, but once it gets going, I was pretty into it. And by the end, I was like, I can't wait to see part 2. And it has an awesome cast. The music is incredible. Like, I think that the score should be nominated for Best Original Score. I don't think it would win, but it should be in the conversation.
The running.
Yeah. It was not bad. Like, it was a solid, to me, like 3 to 3.5 stars. It has like this amazing like village massacre that happens like 20 minutes in, and it lasts for like 20 minutes, and it is insanely violent and cool, and that alone was like worth checking it out for. So I don't know. I think what critics thought when they saw it was like, maybe this could have worked as a TV show. And I kind of agree with that. It probably would have been better as a TV show, but it's also cool that he made this for the big screen. And I know we'll get to see 2 at some point, but it was supposed to be 4 parts. And,
I don't know if you're going to get that.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, we'll see. But yeah, I thought that was like pretty underrated by critics.
Okay.
Were there any movies that you wanted to get to before we did this list, but you haven't got to yet?
Yeah, probably a lot more than I have listed here. But two that I know that probably have at least been in the running for my top 10. Heretic and Nosferatu.
Okay.
I think both probably would have, like, everything I've heard about them. One is like a religious kind of themed horror film with Heretic, and Nosferatu is a vampire movie. Like, I think both definitely would have had at least been in the conversation for my top 10. The other two are more big mainstream movies that I didn't get to, and that's Gladiator 2. I just didn't get time for it. Like, I don't know if it would be in the running for anything, but big blockbuster Roman gladiator movie.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get those. And a fucking sequel to a film from like 25 years ago. It's wild. And then the other one is it's the biggest movie of the last 2 months or so, Wicked. I don't know. I want to see it. Like, I'm intrigued by it, but also like I could not venture out and sit in the theater for nearly 3 hours for that thing. So
I'm gonna make a bet.
Yeah,
at least a bet that applies to me. I don't think I'm gonna like Nosferatu.
Really?
Okay. Everything I've heard about it, yeah. And I would bet that probably you and I would enjoy Wicked, despite the fact I don't really want to see it.
I love The Wizard of Oz, and I've seen the stage. I've seen the actual musical Wicked. Like, I've seen it live, and like I liked it. But then I like saw this like almost 3 hours long, and yeah, I bet I would like it. Like, visually, I think it's going to be astounding. The music I already know is good. It's just I just did not get time for it. So yeah, I anticipate actually enjoying it when it hits HBO Max
Yeah.
or Go or whatever it's called now.
So for me, I kind of made sure that I saw everything I wanted to. Like, there were a few movies that I didn't even wait, like until they were like a normal price. So like,
Mhm.
I don't have much here. There's one, it's slipping my mind. I can't think of it now. Like, I had it like 10 minutes ago, and it's totally slipping my mind. But the other one is Baby Girl, which is
Mm.
the Nicole Kidman getting dominated by her intern movie.
Yeah.
Right up my alley. Didn't get a chance to see that yet.
I thought you were taking your family for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, that was one where it was like, I think my wife would totally be interested into it, but like, she doesn't like to sit in a theater to watch stuff like that because like surrounded by strangers.
Yeah.
So Honora was like a a big surprise to her because she was just like, I should not be getting turned on, and or I don't know if she was turned on, but you know what I mean, like just like I don't like that.
I'm in this public place and this is not like she's like I like what I'm seeing, but also this is
Yes,
not where I want to watch it.
yes. So I didn't talk about this when at first I mentioned it in one of our previous episodes. I talked up Honora a great deal, and I will again tonight. But one thing I forgot to mention when I was telling you about it is there is an insane amount of sex in it, like way more than any of Sean Baker's previous movies, who have all been about sex workers. So like, I was prepared for like some adult subject matter, but I was not prepared for the amount of sex that is in that movie. Like, it literally just starts in a strip club, and you're going down the line of like strippers giving private dances. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's the way you start a movie right there. But yeah, so Baby Girl we'll be seeing. I'll be probably blind buying that shit as soon as it's Amazon or whatever. But that is one. There's another one I really want to see, and like I'm blanking on it, so I don't know. Anyways, and I guess one last thing before we get into our lists is obviously, like, at least for me, this was such a good year. It's always hard to make a top 10. It was especially hard for me this year. I had so many honorable mentions, so I'll list mine off for you just real quick.
Yeah.
Longlegs, Furiosa. I would have loved to get Furiosa on there. In a Violent Nature, same thing. Oddity, Juror number 2, and our boy Art the Clown, Terrifier 3. What about
nice.
you?
Yes. Let's see. Yes, we'll look here. I'll just give you most of my my not top 10 outside, like my top 20 here. Last Stop in Yuma County.
Okay.
Didn't make my list, but I really enjoyed that. Maxine.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. Didn't make my list. Strange Darling.
Oh wow. Okay.
That wasn't on there. Oddity, you mentioned. Actually, that was a last minute switch with another movie here, which I was just like, I think I like this movie more, and I would watch.
Oddity was on mine for a while. Yeah.
And Inside Out 2. Is another one that was on mine. That was a good one, but just outside.
All right. So there you go. There's all our things that we couldn't cram into our lists, and some other topics about the year. All right, Chris, you ready to do our top 10?
I am.
All right, Chris, we'll start with you. What was your number 10 film of 2024?
So I'm just gonna circle us back to I think a couple episodes ago for us, and Speak No Evil.
Wow!
But the 2024 version,
the remake, yeah,
the remake, which is the one I watched first. And
fair enough.
And we had our conversation about it, and I really enjoyed this one. And then I watched the original after that, and differences. This is definitely more of a people pleaser, I guess, than the original, which is
it's still like very disturbing.
Yes, it's super disturbing.
I think I talked about this when we talked about, like, there's still like the desperation where like they think they're gonna die. He's like, I'm so sorry, I failed you guys. And
Yeah.
again, it is. I think for even like your American audience and your mainstream audience, this is pretty wicked horror movie.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why it slips up here. Like it's just really, really well done. James McAvoy is sinister in this. And yeah, I really liked the Ant's performance, the kid, the one who has his tongue cut out and like, oh, he has the speech impediment or whatever, he can't really talk. I thought he was really good in it. I thought Mackenzie Davis as Louise, the mom, I thought she was really
She
good.
was very good, yeah.
Even the accomplice to Patty, his wife or whatever, she was good. Like everybody in this movie really kind of hit it off, and it's super tense. I really enjoy and I know that I think we both enjoyed how kind of wraps up. They have this home invasion aspect, which is really tense and
fun
and good. It's a fun piece to it. I know lots of people did not enjoy that aspect of it.
No,
they thought it was more. Oh, you Americanized it. Like it's still super tense. But I enjoyed that piece of it, and it just really, really hit for me, and it ended up being my number 10.
I am surprised. Well, I'm happy something I picked made your top 10. I can only imagine what my reaction to the movie would be if I saw it in a vacuum and the original did not exist. Even if I was okay with all the changes it made, which I'm not, it's borrowing so much from so much of it is kind of beat for beat what the original was.
Yeah, definitely.
And then then it goes its own path, and part of that I thought was very fun, but I just wish I had the balls to do somehow stick the landing in a similar way.
Yeah, but I understand.
I enjoyed it as well. It's not a movie I hated like other people did. I thought it was fun. All right, so my number 10, Chris, is the movie that they didn't get, and that is Robert Zemeckis' new film Here, which came out in the fall or near the holidays and completely bombed at the box office, and critics hated it. In fact, so I watched this last night. I absolutely loved it, and I was listening to podcasts today, and it was on 2 critics' worst movies of the year lists.
Wow.
So
that's how I'll be honest with you, Jeff. I had not heard of this movie until you told me about it last night. Yeah, I was like, what is he talking? I looked it up, cool concept. Seems neat.
You saw the trailer and stuff, and
yeah, and I've read kind of a synopsis of it, that it all takes place in this one area.
Yeah.
One piece of land, basically.
Yeah. So excuse me if I get a little long-winded about this one, but it's one we haven't talked about before. And I just feel really strongly about people really shortchanged this, really underrated it. So here's the quick elevator pitch for what the movie is, though. Imagine the first 5 minutes of Up, but it's an entire movie. Okay,
it's just super depressing.
Well, it's you get to see someone's whole life. So, all right.
Yeah. So the beginning of Up is the couple who becomes the old couple.
They meet, they grow old,
and all that. Yeah.
What if that was a whole movie? That's what Here is. It's more than that. It is. So what think of the title. And what he does is at the beginning of time, or not the beginning of time, but the beginning of Earth or whatever, he plops a camera down and then shows you what happens in this one spot on Earth from the beginning of time, from the dinosaur age, through 2020, through now.
Yeah, got it.
So you get to see there's several stories in it, kind of, and they're not told in chronological order. It bounces around a lot, right?
Okay, that might bother me.
Actually, I think when you see it, I hope you see it. I think it was a really smart way to do it.
Okay.
Also, they're really smartly, because the camera stays in one fixed position through the whole movie. It doesn't pan. It doesn't do anything. You're just looking. It's if you put a camera down in your living room looking out, that's the entire movie is this one spot. when
Kind
it
of like
wants
when
to,
you would time lapse something, right? Like,
yeah, it's like how,
but in a way, you're breaking down individual aspects.
and so like, but imagine like let's say you're in the 1920s, and then you want to show, back when the Native Americans were running around this area. How do you cut when the camera doesn't move? Or it's just you're sitting in a static spot. They'll like do a little window of it. Like it's just so hard to explain. Like a little window will pop up showing you the past while the present or whatever present is going on, and then it slowly dissolves into being the whole frame. And they do that a bunch. Or like a window will pop up from the past, and another window will pop up from the past, and then they dissolve and it becomes everything is the past. Whatever.
Got it.
I hope that makes any sense.
Yeah,
When
no,
you
it
see
does.
the movie, it will. I think that's a really clever way of doing it. Also, like, the majority of this movie is watching Tom Hanks, from him being a little kid to him being super old.
Okay.
And so like the other stories are like very like short stories. The main gist of it is like Tom Hanks, his wife played by Robin Wright, reuniting from Forrest Gump. It's mainly about them, like them, growing old in this house and raising a family. But you get these other short stories. So like it's interesting. I think it works that he bounces around through time because the other stories are like minor things that it just kind of gives a fuller sense of like it just makes you think about like the house you're in. What other stories have been told here? You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
You think of yourself as the main story, as like the Tom Hanks story, but like, yeah, what else has happened here? Like that we didn't even think about. And 30 minutes into this movie, my wife goes to me, "This might be the dumbest movie that you've ever picked for us to watch." The end of the movie, we are both sitting there bawling our eyes out crying. It got a huge reaction out of me.
Nice.
And I just can't like be so cynical. Like if you get that reaction, I mean, I can't be cynical about it. Like I know it's become cool to like not like Robert Zemeckis anymore. And I get it in a way. He's a very commercial director.
Sure.
And ever since he made Polar Express, people have been up his ass about him always doing technology over good movie making. But like, and he's doing technology here. You're doing the de-aging on Robin Wright and Tom Hanks. But I will say, unlike some critics, I thought it actually was like convincing. It looked real. It looked like young Tom Hanks.
Okay.
The Irishman or something like that. And I think that maybe the fixed camera angle might have something to do with that. But regardless, I wasn't thinking about the technology when I was watching this. I was just thinking like, this is a very ambitious idea from a very commercial director. And it fucking worked on me, dude. Like, oh my God, like, it hit me so hard at the end. Anyways, went on way too long about the movie. Everyone hated, but I hope you check it out. It is now normal rental price and whatnot. And that's here from Robert Zemeckis, the movie everyone hated on and bombed, but it made my list. What do you have for number 9, Chris?
My number 9, and this is what actually just fitted in right moments before we started recording here. Was Abigail.
Yeah,
it's a fun,
yeah.
Little. I mean, fun is like the core function of this film. It is just a joyous little vampire film with a group of people, criminals or whatnot, locked in a house, being stalked and slowly picked off. And it's just a ton of fun. I think the little girl who plays Abigail, Alicia Weir, she's super great in it. Like, you kind of like, if you've seen the trailers, like, Abigail is just the fucking killer. She's the vampire. But like, you believe, like, you buy into her being like this sweet little girl, like, oh, maybe she's going to turn into a vampire. No, she's a vampire the entire fucking time. Like, she's been stuck that way for hundreds of years now. It's a joy. Like, I absolutely had a ton of fun with it. And like, looking over the list, which I kind of already had ordered, was like, you know what? I would watch Abigail again over Oddity. And that dropped Oddity out of the top 10. Like,
I would
Oddity was a
watch.
lot of fun, but I would watch
Yeah,
Abigail again. Abigail's a fun time.
I would watch them both again. Abigail, though, what I love is Dan Stevens. I think that's his name, Dan Stevens.
Yeah.
Doing his villain, turning this, just having a ball. I thought it was way better than him in Cuckoo, although he was probably one of the good things I liked about Cuckoo. And I guess my only regret about the movie is I wish I didn't know going in what the fuck it was. It's one of those movies I wish I just watched randomly and was like, whoa.
Yeah,
Cool.
where did this come from?
Because, like, yeah, they could have just sold it as like this kidnapping ransom thing and not alluded to everything that goes crazy.
I almost wish they had done that, like, instead, because, like, I think the reveal that it's like a fucking wild ass vampire movie would have been so much more fun.
It would have been such a nice surprise. But yeah, it's a fun movie. My number 9, not a very fun movie, and a divisive movie. I think you and I are divided on it, and that is Civil War. A lot of people thought it had nothing to say, and you know what? Let's say I give you that it had nothing to say. It had vignettes in it that were like absolutely terrifying and unsettling, and when it gets to like the end, when they're taking the White House, it's pretty wild. Like the gunfire stuff is like super loud and it's kind of like really well done kind of action stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for like a pretty unsettling topic, again, what does it? I think it's. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I have an opinion on what it's trying to say, and I think it's kind of muddled. But I still think it was a pretty like memorable and it's a movie I will go back to.
Okay.
That brings us to your number 8.
My number 8, and you just mentioned it. I know you did not enjoy this film, but Cuckoo ends up in as my number 8. I had a ton of fun with this. Seems like it is kind of like a mixed reaction, both between people and I guess critics liked it. Like it was hovering around like an 80 or so on.
This might be one of those Jeff didn't get.
Yeah, possibly.
I think it is. I watched this and I was like, I don't get it. Like what?
I had a ton of fun with it, and like it's like this weird sci-fi kind of fucking Dr. Frankenstein story going on where they have to breed these like weird not humans into humans. Strange shit going on. It all takes place in like the German Alps. Beautiful scenery. I think Hunter Schafer's fun, and Dan Stevens also fun in it. I had a really good time with it. It's like really wild. It's very disjointed in places because sometimes you're like, is it some sort of like mystery movie? Because like you get introduced to like this guy who's doing an investigation. No, it's not. Like all over the place. And I enjoyed all of it. I totally get where people are like, I don't get it, but it worked for me.
I think I didn't get it. Didn't work. I just, it's weird because like I love Stevens and I'm a fan of Hunter Schafer too, and I was excited for it, and it just like fell flat for me. My number 8, Chris, is, you don't get this very often. It is a drama for adults that's rated PG.
That is different for sure.
Yeah. You used to get more movies like this, but not so much anymore. And that is Conclave. I think you'd really enjoy this one too, Chris.
It's one you told me about, and it's one I have. Like I have the ability to watch it, and it was like I love religious bullshit, and so I was like, I want to watch this, and I just did not. It just missed my mind, even that I'd missed it.
So here's the premise.
Okay.
The Pope has died. We get to see inside the Vatican the election being held for the new Pope.
Mm-hmm. All the cardinals in together. Yep.
and you get to see the politics of that all play out. And our main character, he was like right below the Pope. Like, he worked very closely with the Pope, and the Pope was like liberal. So picture the Pope as like Joe Biden.
Yep.
And Joe Biden got too old and he died.
Mm-hmm.
And now everyone is scrambling to get enough votes to keep a liberal Pope in power instead of this conservative one that wants to turn back the clock by like 100 years and go against basically like go against gay people, go against Muslims, like, every other religion but ours is wrong, etc. And that guy has the most votes in the room. And the whole movie is these guys like scrambling, trying to stop this monster from taking power. I think
That's super fascinating.
Yes, it's great. It's great. And I won't spoil it because I'm hoping you do watch it. I won't spoil it completely. I'll just say this. I do think the movie is a little too hopeful on this front.
Yeah, I'm guessing where it ends up is like, hey, like you would be able to find the votes or whatever. But
even if you're right about that, Chris, there's an awesome twist to it. I'll just say that. Good.
Yeah, my thought is that the actual Catholic Church would not find the vote. Like there is a very conservative contingent, especially of American bishops and cardinals.
Yeah,
like that they like. They don't like the current pope because he is what
I was just saying the current one is pretty liberal.
Yeah, I mean still probably more conservative than like you or I would like.
Yes,
but
of course. I mean, he's the Pope.
Yes, but very liberal by Catholic standards, and there is that what you're describing is real. Like there is politics at play. When the current Pope dies, that shit is on the table. Like that is terrifying.
It's great, dude. It's really great. And this is directed by Edward Berger, who his I think maybe only previous movie is All Quiet on the Western Front, which won a bunch of Oscars like a year or two ago. Like one of the most brutal war movies I have ever seen. You got to see that too. But for this to be his follow-up, a movie with no violence, but it's still like directed like a thriller, and it's just so well directed. The music is incredible in it. It's really good, man. Like I honestly almost came in higher, but yeah, Conclave is pretty great.
Nice.
What's your number 7, Chris?
So before I name my number 7, just we probably should have done this before we did the previous 3, but if we have one that we name that is on somebody else's list, if it's higher on your list, how about we just wait to talk about it then?
So the higher one? Okay, that's fine.
Yes. It's like, and I have a feeling that this one, I don't know if any of the rest of mine will be on your list. I have a feeling that this one will be on your list, though.
Okay.
Rebel Ridge is my number 7 movie.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay.
I'm happy you made your list, though. My number 7 is Strange Darling.
Nice.
The twisty, what is it, serial killer thriller?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's mostly twisty because of how they arranged it.
Yeah, like it's not told in order.
Yeah. It becomes very apparent why. And I was on the case on this pretty early on in the movie. Like I kind of had it figured out. But this is just so my jam. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
That even if you told it chronologically, I still would have thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's still a good story.
Yeah, and it looks really good. I love the 2 leads in this. Some insane violence and stuff like that. I love that it starts with shot entirely on 35 millimeter, like in just huge bold fucking text. Like, okay, cool, man. You're signaling I might like this. Yeah, it's if you're a genre fan, check it out. We both dug it.
Yeah, it's a good time.
What was your number 6?
My number 6 is the big screen return of Alien.
Okay, cool.
Alien Romulus. I'm a huge Alien fan. It's probably like right up there next to Star Wars. Is one of my favorite like series going. They hit and miss a lot. I think Alien is one of the hits. Like it is, the Alien Romulus is one of the hits here. Like it is really, really good. There are things about it that I think we both kind of agreed on this. There's some goofy shit like where they try to call back, they get a little too cutesy and are like making callbacks to previous films that don't make sense in the context of this film.
It's just it wasn't the Ian was Ian Holm that part didn't bother me, like using a dead actor in it. That didn't bother me so much as like just cramming in a line.
Yeah,
why?
That like, one line is like really that piece is like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
like, I actually like Ian Holm, and I think it works for the universe there. I mean, we've both done a lot of with Alien. We played Alien video games. The androids are often like it's a model, so like the Ian Holm android isn't. It's like not every android.
Yeah, they could have just done a different model, though. That's what I'm saying.
Like, so it's like it's not the same thing. So yeah, that was fine. But yeah, there's a line. If you haven't seen Alien Romulus yet, you'll know the line when it hits, especially if you've seen Aliens before. It's a very famous line from that film. But outside of that, I mean, it is super tense. It hits on a lot of what works really well in Alien. Like it takes a long time before anything like actually scary happens. And then when it does, like it goes off. Like it is not like Alien in the fact there's one alien. Aliens show up and are chasing these people around this derelict space station. There's an awesome scene with some face huggers chasing somebody.
Yes.
Like nightmarish. Like those things are creepy as hell. Just
anti-gravity.
Yeah.
With the blood.
Yes. So good.
Also, very worth noting is that the android in this is really good, like really compelling.
Yeah, David Johnson as Andy is great. Yeah. I really like his story. I like what they do with him.
Yeah.
Outside of that one line, it's really good.
No, for the most part, this is such a return to form for the series. Like I can't fault. Like I guess I could fault it. Didn't make my top 10, but it's one I want to watch again because for one reason. I just got a new surround sound, and it supposedly has amazing, like, atmospheric surround, like, all angles. I enjoyed it. It's a fun ride. It is very much doing the Halloween 2018 thing, though. Like, just cramming in references from every movie for you if you're a fan. And I get that rubbing people the wrong way, and part of it did rub me the wrong way. But for the most part, I thought it was a fun ride.
Yeah, it's a good time.
My number 6 is Rebel Ridge.
All right.
So this is the Jeremy Saulnier movie, the guy that made Green Room. Here he's in slightly different mode, but man, this guy just is generally really good. And he's kind of doing like a First Blood riff here.
Yeah.
But like, man, there's a lot of things I love about this movie. One thing is I love that the character tried to go out of his way not to get into it with these corrupt cops. Like he tried to avoid it until it really feels earned when he just goes Rambo on them.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I thought it was like a very realistic depiction of how these small town cops could become corrupt. Like it was very like specific. And I think realistic. I think this is probably shit that does happen in areas. And it had stuff to say about civil asset forfeiture. Like it had some depth to it for being a total dude like dad movie.
Yeah.
And I kind of love how it ends where it's like you're just still kind of breathless of him kind of run away. He just gets into this hospital, sits in the waiting room, and he's like hugging whatever evidence he has left of their corruption, like which is very little. Like they destroyed most of it. I just kind of love that, and just end on that beat. Like this guy knows how to end a movie. It's such a smart movie, and it did seem to make a splash on Netflix. Like it wasn't just me like telling people to check it out. People seem to like it.
People seem to really
dig cool. It. Yeah, not so much as Carry On, but people dug it.
Yes, good time. It's a little more heady than Carry On, to tell you the truth.
It is. Oh, for sure. All right, here we go, Chris. Top 5. What's your number 5?
My number five is the second sequel to a horror franchise that's kind of made a name for itself recently over the last probably 5-10 years or so. That's A Quiet Place Day One.
I thought you were going Terrifier.
No, no, that did not make my top 10. Just
man.
spoilers.
Okay.
I like Terrifier 3 enough, but I like it. I like Terrifier 2 a little bit more. That would not have made my top 10 either. So,
Okay.
A Quiet Place Day One. It moves away from the original cast of A Quiet Place, which was I'm trying to think of who was that.
Jim.
The hell is her name? It's John Krasinski. It's his family in the first
Jim,
one.
I just go Jim.
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, what's her name? She's from Edge of Tomorrow.
Emily Blunt.
Yes.
Emily Blunt. Yeah. So it moves away from her being the lead here, and it brings in Lupita Nyong'o as kind of she's the lead in this one, and it takes place in New York City during the outbreak, like when the aliens invaded. So everything's going to fucking mayhem in a city. Like, you know, A Quiet Place 1 and 2 take place in the countryside because that's where everybody's moved, because that's, you know, easier to be quiet out in the country. This is all the aliens have just fucking invaded. They've come in, they've taken shit down. And the noise of a city and a city trying to evacuate during it does a really good job with it. Lupita Nyong'o is great in the film, and there's kind of like this really emotional core to it that I'm not going to spoil kind of like what's going on with her.
No, go ahead. I've seen it. I've seen the movie, and I don't think it's a spoiler. I think it's the premise.
So she's terminally ill. She I don't know if she has cancer or whatnot. But she's gonna die, and all these people are trying to like help rescue her, basically. And she's just like, I just want to go where I think it was like her uncle or her dad like took her when everyone was still alive, and she just wants to go and have a slice of pizza.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
And sit down. Like, that's the whole thing. Is like she's going. Everyone else is trying to escape the fucking city, and she's trying to like
get pizza.
Yeah,
New York slice. New York slice.
Yep, in Brooklyn. Like, I'm gonna walk to fucking Brooklyn from here, and like I'm gonna get this slice of pizza because I'm gonna die soon. And along the way, she's very like a much of a loner, and she comes across this other guy who they kind of team up to survive, and he ends up going on this journey with her, and I think it's really sweet. And at the end, she ultimately sacrifices herself to let him survive. And I just really worked for me. I thought it was a really good version. I think all three of these movies are very good.
Yeah.
And this one just stuck with me a little bit more than the other two. So hits my top five.
I would say I'm surprised, but like, you are not alone on this. Like, I'd say a lot of people kind of echo your sentiments about it. To me, I think all three of the movies are okay, but they're like, none of them I love, and this falls in the same category. Like, it's just like, I get it, I guess. Like, I guess the dealing with the topic of her being terminally ill and just wanting to get a slice of pizza, like, really added something to it.
Yeah,
but I thought it was good. I'm not saying it's bad. It just didn't hit me. It didn't hit me like it hit you, and it seemed to hit a lot of critics and people. I will say that the director of this, I don't know his name off the top of my head. I just wing it here.
Mm-hmm.
His previous movie was Pig, starring Nicolas Cage.
It's a Nicolas Cage movie, right?
Yeah, which is another movie about the power of food. Like, this guy has an angle.
Okay,
and he's going for it. Number 5. Oh my god, I can't wait for you to see this. My number 5 is The Wild Robot. This animated film from DreamWorks. Good lord, dude. Have you like talked to anyone that's seen this? I mean, other than me, like,
no.
Okay.
I know that, like, in terms of animated films, like people are like, this one's great. Like
It is so good. My sister, she's not like a big movie person, but she has kids, right? So like after I saw this, I'm talking to her about something. And I go, hey, by the way, did you guys see The Wild Robot? I would really recommend that. And she's like, oh my God, I cry 4 or 5 times every time I watch it. So what this movie is about is like a helper robot, like a domestic helper robot. Is like the idea that that 1950s idea that you have a robot in your house and it will vacuum and do this for you. It ends up shipwrecked on an island, and it takes in a baby goose, which this movie taught me is called a gosling. I did not know that.
Did not know that either.
Yeah, and it ends up raising this goose, and and it's perfectly very entertaining kids movie. But what it's really about is being a parent, which I don't know anything about other than pets, right? But even still, man, this hit me so fucking hard, man. Like, not as hard as Here. Like, Here is the hardest I cried of any movie last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty close. This was not like at the end of Here, tears are just like streaming down my face. This movie for the last 20 minutes, like my eyes are like welling up the entire time. Where I'm just like, don't do this to me, don't do this to me, don't do this to me. It has great action, but again, like it's the emotional core the animation, and good lord, the fucking score. The music is so fucking good in it. Like I've been listening to the soundtrack ever since I watched it. I see that like it isn't it has some stiff competition in the animated category, including from Inside Out 2, which I have not seen, and this other movie Flow, which I have not seen. But man, for me, like again, I haven't seen the other anime movies, but I'm like rooting for this so hard, even though it was a huge success and it's a big studio. I'm like, this movie rocks. It is just so like, I don't know, it's so good, man. Like you're gonna love it. I can't wait for you to see it.
Nice.
So that's not my number 5. What's your number 4, Chris?
My number 4 is Late Night with the Devil, which I believe we did a show on, right?
Yeah.
Like we did.
Did we do an episode on it?
I thought we did. Did we not? We definitely talked about it.
I had meant to. I know we talked about it. I had meant to do it. I was going to do an episode, and then we both saw it, and I was like, well, we both saw it already. What's the point? So I think we just talked about it.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, this one that just really it clicked for me. I love the old school late night kind of talk show. They're bringing on this girl that she's claims she can like speak to ghosts or whatever, and and a debunker, and like they're kind of going at it like this is fake, this is real, and like it very clearly becomes that it's real. That what we're seeing is actually happening, whether that be in his head or not, but we're being treated to all that, and I thought it worked really, really well. Some really cool visuals. I love the look, like it's just like a 70s TV show like look to it. Costuming is on point. I
love the skeptic that they bring in. It was very much like James Randi.
The skeptic is great.
It's so like there were 70s episodes, like there were late night talk show episodes like this in the 70s, except for the crazy where it goes at the end. It's real,
I thought it did such a great job of we kind of go to like this late night talk show, but we're also getting flashbacks to like previously in his life, and like
they did a good job building a character.
So like you build up this talk show host and his history, and you find out what he sacrificed to get to where he is, and why everything is happening now. Really, really cool. It stuck with me all year long. Like just a phenomenal film.
Yeah, and also first like kind of lead role for David Dastmalchian.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always have to like.
Hard name to pronounce.
Yeah, a guy who's like he's always like he's in a million movies. Like he's in The Dark Knight for like 2 seconds, right? Like as one of the cops that is not a cop and he's a terrorist. But here he gets to do a lead role, and he's really good in it, dude. And here's like he's a Chicago guy, and he's like a huge horror fan. Like if you watch any of those like In Search of Darkness documentaries about like the 80s or you know what I mean, he's one of the guys that they like bring in to talk about why the movies rock. And to see him get a lead role in a movie that is like very solid was a treat. I don't have anything bad to say about this. This was in my top 10 until like the last 2 months. It was so like I wanted to include it, so I'm happy you have it.
Nice.
Shit. My number 4,
The
Last Stop in Yuma County. This is just my jam. Like it's a movie made for me. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time is A Simple Plan, and that's about a group of 3 guys who find a bag of money, and they have a simple plan. They're going to sit on it for 6 months, and if no one comes looking, they split it 3 ways and go their separate ways. And this is in that vein. It's like normal people. Like I think we did an episode on this, and like I think the theming of it was like the evil within. Like you would do evil things given the right circumstances. That's what I love about it, and it does a lot with a small budget. It feels like a movie from the 70s. It feels like a movie from the 90s, like kind of like the post Tarantino era. I love Jim Cummings, who he ends up being our main character in this.
Yeah.
I'm just a huge fan of him as an actor and a writer and a director. He's just acting here, but he's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, everything about this clicks for me. Like the way it kind of ends too, like shit just blowing up, money flying in the air, and him like kind of mortally wounded, walking away from a scene, and we just start rolling credits. I just dig that so much. This was made in a lab for me.
It's a really fun and the way it kind of starts off is like he's not that guy, right? But then it does
he's
become
not at all.
Like,
yeah,
it does become like, oh, well, what if I am that guy? And like
an opportunity.
He like saw an opportunity, took it, and it plays out horribly for him. But along the way, it's like really, really good. It's a joyous time, honestly.
It's so fun. It's just such a lean, fun movie. I can't wait to see what this guy does next. I know he's doing Evil Dead movie, which I guess I'll watch. But man, give me more of movies like this.
That one of the things I thought was really neat about it is like it hinges on like he makes a decision, and once he makes that decision, there's no turning back. Like
you're locked in.
Yeah, it's from that point, and like it's like wow, like everything just starts. All the dominoes start falling at that point. So
you become pot committed, as they say.
Really cool.
All right, here we go. We're going. These are the big hitters here. The top 3. What do you got? Number 3.
My number 3 is it's a little film that stars Debbie Moore and Margaret Qualley.
That's my number 3 as well.
So I guess we'll talk about it right now. Then The Substance. Body horror film, awesome sci-fi premise, like that you can kind of like not de-age, but become a different version of you through some sort of medicine.
You can become your younger self for a week at a time.
Yeah,
be your older self for a week at a time.
But with some like major
you have to respect the balance. You have to respect the balance.
If you do not follow the rules, and you start to see the two of them go off the edge, like these two versions of the same character kind of going off the edge, jealous of each other, just like nightmarish in the way they end up treating each other's bodies, and just a wild fucking insane ending. that's like reminiscent of the fucking Blob or something. Like insane,
Yeah,
great
it is.
performances all around.
Um, so when I saw this in the theater, I was like kind of instantly like, this is the best horror movie of the year. I stand by that still. It's one of the most. I think there's one more on my list that might be nearly as stylish, but it is super stylish. Like the music, the visuals, kind of like the Kubrick shining carpet on the floor in the hallway and the orange walls. Like it is just going for it. It's at 11 the whole way. It's at 11 the whole way, and then and like you said, like the end, it just cranks it up somehow even more. You're like, geez, we're really going for it. Hell yeah. When I saw it in the theater, I thought, yeah, this is the craziest horror movie of the year. I did not expect it to like be in award contention, and it now is, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Congrats to everyone involved. And also the thing I went to go see this by myself, and like later I was like, I'm gonna make Melissa watch this. Just because I want to see her, like, this is crazy, right? And what I did not expect is that it ended up being her favorite movie of the year. Period.
Wow, awesome!
Like she loves it, and like we talked, like she doesn't like to talk about movies, but she's not like articulate about like what she likes about art and stuff as much as we are as podcast bros. But I was just like, well, what, like, what, what is it? And she's just like, that's how you feel, like, as you get older. I was like, yeah. I mean, and that's the funny thing is, like, it's seen as like this feminist like scream, but to me, it's like, I don't know, dudes grow old too. Like we go through this too. Like, it's not like we're not putting makeup on the mirror, but like you start to see things happen to your body. You get slower, sex drive diminishes, whatever. Right? Everyone gets old. And so like it was very relatable to me, and it's like, would I respect the balance? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Like that's the thing, right? Like if you became that like that
you
younger
would want more and
version
more.
of you,
Yeah.
Like I want to spend more time here. Then you may make a fucking insane decision to kind of like do it again, which is gonna fuck everything up.
And it's very Cronenberg-esque, and I think kind of outdoes David Cronenberg's output so far. Like I'm just like I was wowed by this. Like it's very simple.
Yeah.
But I love how like it has all these like specific rules and instructions. I love that in a movie like Gremlins.
But I think that's why it works.
Yeah,
like because the rules are simple
after midnight, like or whatever. You know what I mean? Like whatever.
But we like as they're not overly complicated, which I think films like this can sometimes get. Like
it's like one or two rules.
Yeah. It's very easy for everybody to understand. And you just kind of along for the horror ride of it. It's great. I did not realize, I'm looking at it right now, that it was I mean I had heard Demi Moore won Best Actress for it at the Golden Globes. I did not realize how many people were like naming it like best film of the year, or that it was nominated on their list for best film.
It's really wild. I cannot believe it. Like, yes,
super excited for the Oscar nominees then, because that's awesome.
Yeah, I do think it's one of the best movies of the year, but I just kind of thought like people would be like, yeah, it's great, Demi Moore's great, like, but yeah, it's a horror movie. Like, we're not gonna like. It's so rare, okay. Let's go. Number 2.
My number 2 this falls in line with, I think, actually the next 2 actually really fall in line with what we've talked about on this film, with horror films I like and kind of that vein, and it's Sydney Sweeney's Immaculate. It's not her film. She did not film it, but she is the star.
It's the director of The Voyeurs, which we reviewed.
Michael Mohan.
Yes.
Sydney Sweeney playing a nun here. That I guess like the easiest. she is impregnated in some way, or that is where she's at. Like, is that these places are this convent is they're like, oh, you're being immaculately concepted, like by God, and it's really not. It's some fucking mad scientist in a lab. But this shit is insane. They make her feel insane throughout most of it until you finally get the actual reveal. It's super tense throughout, and it is. There are some moments that are super fucking gross, and there's a couple moments that are like, even as somebody who like enjoys like subverting religious norms and stuff, like they go some places with their imagery here that is really neat. So yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed this one a lot.
I knew you would enjoy it. I'm surprised it's so high. That's cool. All
So
right.
what do you got at number 2?
My number 2 is Sean Baker's latest film, Anora. We talked about this a little bit already tonight, but this, I think this is like a great American film. Like, I think like it is. It kind of contains like it starts off as a fairy tale. It turns into like one crazy night movie that's like very funny. And all the time, while it's funny, it's also very sad and heartbreaking and cruel. And it's just like, I think I said this to you when I talked about it initially. It's a movie about how like the American dream is a lie. And I just think there's just something like there's something great about it that's gonna like withstand time, and it's really interesting. You know, the setup for this movie is Mikey Madison. She is a stripper. She starts hanging out with this like Russian oligarch's son. Like, he is very rich. She's got a mansion. He proposes to her so he can stay in the country. Like, let's get married. And she's like, she sees a shot out of this horrible life that she's in, right?
Right.
And then it kicks into like the family finds out, and it becomes very menacing, and they're like trying to like force them to annul the marriage. And it's just like a really awful thing that is happening. Like, yes, she took it as a point of opportunity, but she was also like trying to like, she was like, maybe I could love this guy, and you know, this is fun. I like hanging out with him. Like, maybe this could be it. Like, and to have that stripped from her, like from this character who had nothing, it is just awful. But the whole second half of the movie, there's like this one thug that is trying to like separate them, but he's like watching everything that's happening. And what you're watching in the second half of the movie is him falling in love with her. And
wow.
Yeah, I teared up just now just trying to describe that. But yeah, I think Anora is great. I think Mikey Madison gives the best performance of the year. Again, this is my number 2, so it was nearly number 1. Check it out.
All right. Yeah, that's one I do have on my watch list to get to.
We're at number 1.
We are at number 1, and I again, so one, I just realized 9 of my 10 films here were all horror films of some sort, except for Rebel Ridge, which I mean, even you could probably make an argument there too, but
yeah,
more of a thriller, I guess. Yeah, but 9 of my top 10 were all horror films.
That's cool.
Great fucking year for horror films this year.
Oh wait, I know where you're going. Okay.
But yeah, the film that hits my number 1 is it's another has religious overtones to it. It also hits on a couple other things that I love, which is like a murder mystery, kind of a police procedural. Enjoy that type of stuff. And I love Nicolas Cage too. And Long Legs is my number 1 film of the year. Yeah, I loved it. Loved everything about it, and like rewatching it, like you're catching things that like.
So you rewatched it?
I did, yeah. It's really, really good.
Me too. Yeah.
And there's just stuff like you catch, like there are things I did not notice the first time, but after like reading, after the movie came out, read some stuff about it, and like people are like calling out other things, like yeah, like the devil can be seen in like a bunch of different scenes.
Yes, yeah.
Super cool, but you're paying attention to what's going on in the film, not to some
But
background
it is
shadow.
placing a subliminal image in your head of the devil at all.
At all times, like he's almost always there. It's really really cool. I think Michael Monroe as the FBI agent Lee Harker is great in it. Nicolas Cage is fucking super weird and creepy. They don't overuse him either.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I know some people don't like him in it. I was like, it's just enough. It's just enough.
Yeah, he's just enough of the crazy, but also it's like he's also being used, right? Like he's not.
He's like a loser. He's a loser.
Yeah,
that's what he is in it, and so like it kind of works for me. Like,
yeah, it all really really worked for me. I loved everything about it, and from the moment we saw it earlier this year, like it's been at the top of my list, and nothing else kind of came close. So
here's what I'll say: it was at my number 5 for most of the year, and it just kept getting pushed and pushed. And I did rewatch it. It kept getting pushed, but regardless of any of that, this is just a list where you're making things. It's a movie I enjoyed quite a bit. I loved it. I love this director. Like this really like he was already like I thought interesting enough, but like this really put this guy on the map. I went and checked out his first movie, which you should definitely watch. If you love this so much, you should definitely watch The Black Coat's Daughter, because in my opinion, it's a sister movie to this movie. Like it's almost the same movie, but just in a different way completely. And yeah, like I don't know. For me, if more than anything, it made me interested in Osgood Perkins, and I can't wait to see what he does with this new movie, The Monkey, that's coming out soon. Yeah,
Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah, so I'm in for whatever this guy does, and I love like combining like the Silence of the Lambs element with a more just like satanic horror element.
Yeah,
very cool.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
What do you got at number 1, Jeff?
My number 1 is Challengers, Luca Guadagnino's tennis movie. This is like, it's maybe slightly less stylish than The Substance. I don't know. It's pretty stylish. It's one of the best directed movies of the year. It has easily the best score of the year, and the score is like very intense and in your face. Like if you're a person that doesn't notice music in movies, it doesn't matter. You're gonna notice the music in this movie because it'll be like these two characters will be like in a conversation, like talking to each other, also be like, you're like, what the like? Why are we doing like this like heavy club music while it's just like two people being like "fuck you"? But it just fucking works. Like it's so wild how in the face the score of this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Like how noticeable the music is in the movie, and how much it makes it just like this record that you're playing where like you're just like, this is a blast. And this movie is a fucking blast. I'm sure you've seen the trailer for it. It's it's like these 3 tennis players and it's a love triangle thing. And what it is these 2 guys, they both kind of love the same girl, and she's like this amazing tennis player. They're pretty good tennis players, and one of them gets married to her, but he's the good guy. He ends up being married to her, and this plays out over decades, and you jump around time. And the other guy, who's the bad boy, he's not marrying her and not becoming much with his life. Like, whereas the other guy becomes a great tennis player. But you still know she wants to fuck this other guy. Like, it has a super like soapy love triangle thing going on. But it's also a great sports movie about like what drives you to be great, like what matters in life. Man, and I don't want to build it up as like having too much meaning because what it is kind of a trashy, like romance novel of a movie,
Yeah.
but it's also a great sports film at the same time. Like it is an amazing sports film at the same time. Where like when you get to the final match and they get into the tie break, you're just like, oh shit, man, where's this gonna go? And then the way they end it is amazing. I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one that liked this movie.
No, people really enjoyed it.
This is on a lot of top 10 lists. It's just a fun movie, dude. Like it's like a 2-hour plus movie that like you don't feel a minute of it. Like maybe the first 20 minutes, like you're kind of getting your foot in who are these characters, what's going on. But once it gets into it, it's so juicy. Like so I rewatched it again the other night to make sure I was right about this, and I was. My wife was just like not paying attention, she's looking at her phone, doing whatever, and like at some point in the movie, she put her phone down and she's just in it, locked in again, and she already knows where it ends up, but she was just like, it had been a while, this came out early in the year, and she was just locked into the end. She won't admit to liking it as much as me, but man, it's just fun. It's a fun soapy love triangle, and it's a super fun sports movie. And they mix that together with stylish direction. You're getting like shots below the court, like kind of looking up through glass at the court. There's parts where like the camera's attached to the tennis ball and just flying around as they volley back and forth. And, these are all the stylistic stuff that adds to it, but it's just like you're just so into what's happening. You're so engrossed by the end of it. And it's weird. It's like, I guess I definitely want the cuck boy to win, but you kind of like everyone, and you kind of get like where it was coming from. All right, I'll leave it at that. Challengers is really great. Chris, awesome. If you are interested, it is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, all right.
I'd say check it out. I don't know anyone that's watched the movie and been like, yeah, that sucked.
I do like Zendaya, or Zendaya.
Oh yeah, Zendaya. I think Zendaya's right. I used to always say that Zendaya, and then I heard it corrected. So, she's great in it. She's awesome in it. All three leads, they're like all really good in it. But I think the star is the directing and the music. Trent Reznor won a Golden Globe for it. I fully kind of expect them to win an Oscar, and he's someone who has done like 40 movie scores or something at this point, and I don't like most of them. Like, or it's not that I don't like most. Like, it's not that I don't like his scores. I just don't feel like I feel like people overrate them just because it's Trent Reznor. If that makes any sense.
I generally speaking, like I think his music fits for the movies that he does, but nothing is like super memorable to me. It's not like, oh man, that's amazing. Like that's really like it works for the movies they're in. Generally, like I just like. But I do. I think that he's the guy from 9 Inch Nails. Like him and Atticus Ross. Like they're awesome, right? Everyone loves them. It's like, but they're good. Like,
so this is the first one. This is a movie where like even if you don't notice the score, you're gonna notice it. And when it ends, it goes right into credits, and it turns into basically a 9 Inch Nails song.
Nice.
It's like he starts singing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna win best song of the year. Like it's not even that it fits the movie, it's that it doesn't fit the movie that makes it so fucking awesome. Like I don't know how to explain it. You gotta see, like, you will not watch this movie and not notice the music. It is so in your fucking face all the time, but it makes like all the scenes cooler where you're just like, it's like there's one part like where the two dudes are in a sauna together and they're just talking shit to each other, like, get your dick out of my face, bro. Like, and the other guy's like, we're in a sauna. And it also starts being like, bump, 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 bump. You're like, why are we doing like music right now? But they're just talking to each other. It's awesome.
Nice.
Challengers is a blast. So that's our top 10s. Reiterate, I guess our number ones. Chris, you're going long legs. I'm going Challengers.
Yeah.
I think everything we talked about here tonight both of us is worth checking. Well, some of the ones that you said, I don't agree with.
Yeah, you weren't a fan of Cuckoo. I know that. So.
Cuckoo, I would say you could probably be okay skipping. But man, really good year. When there's a year where I could not fit like Juror number 2 and Furiosa on my list, that's pretty fucking good year.
Yeah, it was great for everything.
It really was.
I had a great time with horror this year. Clearly, 9 of my 10 films were.
You could have put First Omen in there and made it all 10 fucking horror movies.
Yeah, First Omen was great. I mean, like
we didn't mention that.
No, it was one. It's like it's number 18 on my list. Like,
okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's a movie I gave 4 stars to. I really liked it quite a bit.
It's surprisingly good.
You know, Maxine, Strange Darling, Oddity. Those are all like other horror films that could have fit in there at some point. They're all like of the same. Like, it's just like, how do I feel about these movies today? Because they're all about the same quality, I think. So it's like just how you feel today, how I felt going in. Good time, I think. Great movies this year.
When you have a year where Chris has like 15 horror movies that could have been in his top 10, and 9 of them were, that we ate well in 2024.
Yes.
Here's hoping that 2025 is nearly as good.
Hope it starts off hopefully strong with Den of Thieves 2.
I'm going. I'm going.
So
can't wait.
I'm hoping it's going to be a good time, and I won't wait 4 years to watch it this time. I do think I will try and make it out. In? I'm in that when I finally did sit down to watch Den of Thieves, which I think you made me watch.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good time. I really loved it, and now I'm kind of like invested. I want to see what happens next with these 2 people. So
I'm just so worried that like there's no topping it. Like I think it's such a great movie. Like how do you top it?
Yeah,
we're gonna find out. I'm gonna be forcing. What's the ghost? We watched it not last night, but the night before, and I was like, "Wait till you see the ending of this movie. Like, you're gonna want to know what happens next." You know, because whatever. And it ended. Yeah. She turned to me. And she did the jerk off motion and walked away. I was like, "Okay." I thought it was pretty good.
It's a very good ending.
Yeah.
And it's a very good film. I think it's a very good heist film.
Yeah.
I'm in the mood for a good heist film. So I'm hoping that this new one turns out good.
I'm hoping they did okay with it. He took 7 years to make it, so hopefully we'll be back soon with maybe good horror movies. I don't know, like these. What is the theme of the next one? It's like witchery, or
I mean, it's more like Satan.
Satan.
It's like more. Yeah, like the prophecy and Warlock are very much
little devil bastards.
Yes. Right. So yeah, that's kind of our theme. They tie in together a little bit. So we'll be watching those 2 classic kind of early 90s, I believe, for both, or mid 90s.
Both very like of that era. At least I remember Warlock.
Warlock was 89, and the Prophecy is 95, I think. So
I will say this: I watched the trailer for them both, and Warlock looks super fun. And I saw Warlock when I was a kid, but I just don't remember it.
Yeah. So I have not seen the Prophecy in a long time. So I've seen Warlock within like the last 5 years.
Oh wow! Really?
I've not seen the Prophecy in a long time, so I'm hoping it works.
The last time I saw Warlock is the year it came out on VHS, and I remember enjoying it, and then watching the trailer for it, like, you know, yesterday. I was like, "Oh yeah, this looks like a blast."
Yeah, I'm hoping
like they both look like cheesy of that time.
Yep. So, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they're a good time, good watches.
So we'll be back with that episode soon. I'll have to come up with whatever I'm coming up with next. I have no idea. I'm out of ideas. I'll figure something out.
All right.
We'll be back very soon. Thanks for listening to our Movie of the Year episode.